Oh well. I guess it's time for the internet to see my glasses. People will probably say that I'm trying to be a cool hipster. Well, I need them to see. Plus, I was seeing things before it was cool. So I started off in 2009 with a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Law. Now the reason I picked law is because I saw Liar Liar as a kid. I saw the kind of, fancy office and, the lifestyle that he had, and I was just like, oh, that looks like a bit of me. I want a nice leather couch. Little did I know the significance of the leather couch back then. But that's basically why I chose the law, and I kind of like the idea of the lifestyle, like, going into court and arguing a case and doing something good for someone. So I wanted to become like a defense lawyer, or a prosecution, keeping bad guys in jail, that kind of thing. So I started off with that, and under the arts degree as well, because a lot of people when they come to university, they don't actually really know what they want to do, and I was no exception to that rule. I had no idea really, apart from the law thing, what I really wanted to do. And it's kind of like a process and a journey to figure out really what you want to do. So I started off doing the arts as well, and I was kind of doing a broad spectrum of things. I did psychology, I did film and media, I did some ancient history papers, and so that was basically my first six months at university. After the 6-month mark, I decided law was not for me. I didn't really like the whole technical nature of it. You had to do a lot of readings, and while that is important, it wasn't for me at all. So I dropped the law and I kept on going with the arts. And so under arts, I was still doing psychology, and I actually ended up with a minor in an arts degree with psychology and film and media. So I will be touching on those in future episodes. But for the next 6 months, I did arts. I did those arts papers, and then I did a bit of a U-turn, and I actually went and studied design in my second year of university. I actually moved my life down from Auckland to Wellington to do that. It was a huge change. And I don't regret doing it at all. Living outside of your own country or state or city, whatever, it's a really good experience. It's a good growth and personal development experience as well. And I don't regret my time down there at all. I met some really awesome people. If you are watching this and you are from Wellington, to every one of you, thank you so much for making my time there awesome. I've got some really fond memories. But basically, when I was down in Wellington, I started to study design. And that was because I wanted a creative outlet. So one of my favorite subjects at high school was English, and that was very creative, and I like the creative writing aspect of it, as well as the technical, so writing essays and pulling meaning from books and seeing how it all connected together. And that's something I still enjoy doing, and I thought a creative outlet would be good for that. So I chose design. So with design, I also kept up a conjoint. Now, with the conjoint degree, for those of you who don't know or aren't privy to that kind of thing, a conjoint is basically when you do 2 degrees at once. So you do, say for example, a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Law. That is a conjoint or a double degree. And basically you can kind of shorten down the time. If, say for example, if you were doing a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Commerce, you can get that done in 4 years, as opposed to doing that separately, and that would take you 6 years to do a Bachelor of Arts and then a Bachelor of Commerce. So I kept up a double degree to kind of keep my options open while I was studying. Now, the design I loved, but I didn't really like some of the aspects of how they did design. It was basically like, there wasn't really no guidance. I thought I would go down there, I'd be learning Photoshop, I'd learn the entire Adobe Creative Suite, and they would kind of show you how to do a lot of these things, but they didn't. It was more of a, you have this brief, this is due in on X date, go off and do it, come back twice a week and we'll give you feedback on your work. It was a lot of self-learning. And I was thinking, why am I paying so much money just to be told this is due in then? So that didn't really mesh with me. And there were a couple of other reasons. I was at the University of Wellington down there, and so I was also keeping up with my film and media papers and psychology papers as well. And I didn't really like the way that they taught things down there. Compared to the University of Auckland, which is where I was studying previously, it wasn't very professional. I didn't feel like the quality of the teachers and stuff like that were as good as the University of Auckland, especially when it came to the mentors and stuff like that. Like, there was one occasion where for a psychology tutorial where the tutor came in 45 minutes late and then started showing us YouTube videos. Like, seriously, I'm paying good money for this. And so I was like, nah, like, I'm going, but back up to Auckland, I'm going to get my money's worth for my education. So I moved back up to Auckland, so that was my second year down in Wellington. And my third year, I still really didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I realized that I liked the psychology, I also liked the film. And so because you can kind of swap around majors, so you can do psychology under a Bachelor of Arts, and you can also do psychology under a science. It's exactly the same degree. Sometimes you have a little bit of a different requirement, but that's basically how it works. You can kind of do either or. And I was doing it under the Bachelor of Arts at that time, and that I kind of got into my head that I would like to pursue psychology. And so I thought psychology would be a good path, and to do psychology properly, you really need to do postgraduate studies. Having a degree just in psychology alone is not enough to get you to an actual certified psychologist rank. You need to do postgrad you can do postgrad in clinical psychology, speech therapy. Clinical is basically what you think of when you think of a psychologist, lying on the couch, looking up at the ceiling, having someone kind of diagnose your problems, talk about things. That's basically what the clinical psychology is. They allow you to diagnose illnesses and stuff like that, and treat them as well. Just different as well. You've got psychiatry and you've got psychology. Psychiatry is the medicine side of things, so that actually allows you to write scripts and you have to go through the medical pathway, whereas a psychologist is the one who actually diagnoses the issues in the first place. And so I kind of got into my head that would be a good path to go through. I again wanted to help people, so I thought psychology would be great, and I continued on with that. But the pathways into postgraduate psychology are really, really tough, especially clinical. It's very hard to get into clinical psychology, very competitive, and so I kind of, I was doing the film in psychology, and the film was great as well. The film I'll talk about just for a second. The film, very theoretical. A lot of the stuff when you come into university, you may think, oh, it's going to be great, I'm going to do all of these things, and you don't, basically. It's not very practical, depending on the institution that you go to. If you go to more of a polytechnic or, say for example, media design school within Auckland, that's very practical. But if you go to actual proper accredited universities like the University of Wellington, the University of Auckland, or wherever you may be in the States or Europe or wherever, a lot of it is a very theoretical component, and so you'll actually be taught the theory of how to do things. So in film, you learn all this jargon, and it's very wishy-washy and, to be honest, a bit bullshitty. That's one thing I hated about film. It was very, they test you on terminology, not like actual films, and it's really frustrating. And as well, you get the theory aspect, but you've got no practical to back it up. So if you're expecting to go and to become a director straight from doing a film and media major, that's not going to happen. You really need the practical to back that up. So you need to be taking the theoretical concepts that you learn within your university and then bringing those into a practical way in your own time. And that kind of translates across a whole different raft of majors. It's similar to computer science, to be honest. Computer science is basically my main hero major, and the fact that you learn all these theoretical things, but it's really up to you to go out and apply them, and that's what's going to get you the job in the end. It's going to be going out and being able to show employers you have a portfolio of work. That's really, really important. You'll get the guys, as I mentioned before, that will go into uni, they'll do their assignments, do their thing, and that's it. That's the end of the day, and those guys are not going to get jobs. You may end up getting, lucky, but it's going to be the guys who go out and spend time practicing and tinkering and actually producing stuff that are going to get the jobs. Anyway, so that was the film and media and psychology. So I kind of dropped the psychology train of thought, and funnily enough, I also picked up a computer science paper in my first year because I thought technical would be for me as well. I was getting into PC gaming, and I really enjoyed that kind of aspect, and I thought, computers might be for me. And I did that, and it was basically one of the 100 level papers, and man, it was boring. They teach Python in your first kind of year, and I kind of have an issue with how they introduce you to coding. You're learning your for loops, your while loops, you're learning kind of what data structures are, and data types and all that kind of stuff, and it's a really boring way to introduce people to code. because a lot of the time you're manipulating these abstract things, like you're manipulating a list. Like they'll give you a problem, you need to write a code that will swap each element of the list around, and for a lot of people that's boring as hell. Like sure, like as you kind of progress through the major, you realize how important things like data manipulation are, but you know, if you're starting to code and you're sitting down, you're like, oh, this is going to do so many cool things, and you sit down, they're like, okay, you're going to rearrange a list today. Like that's boring, man. Like, so I actually completely disregarded the computer science route in my first year. But then in my third year, when I started to kind of think about other things, I actually picked up commerce, because by that stage I'd been at university for 2 years. I hadn't really achieved anything apart from passing, you know, all of my papers. And I thought, right, I need to get a degree that will get me a job. I need something substantial that I can actually come out of uni with and get me a job. So I started commerce, because that's basically, you know, the go-to degree. Everyone and his dog really has a commerce degree if they go through university. So I picked up commerce. That was in my fourth year, and so I started doing all the commerce papers, which is basically most degrees for commerce at least will basically give you a foundation, so that you have to do economics papers, accounting, information systems, marketing papers, business acumen, all that kind of stuff, and that's basically your first year. And it was kind of interesting to me as well. I hated the accounting side of things, but that was the first year of my commerce degree. And then I decided to pick up my majors, and those were marketing and information systems. And those were my two majors. I liked each of them. I don't regret doing any of them. They're both good. With marketing, the value isn't really apparent in a marketing degree until you actually finish university. So I've actually done some marketing consulting professionally for the past couple years, and it's really not until you finish your degree and you're encountered with these real life problems that you realize, oh, this is actually really useful. I've actually done this before. And you go back and you root around through your old marketing textbooks to find all these theoretical concepts. And so with marketing, it's kind of hard to build up a portfolio of work, but really if you are doing a marketing degree, pay attention and make sure that you keep a good record of all of your notes, because they will come in handy if you go out and get a marketing job. So that was the marketing. I really enjoyed the marketing. And again, that was more of a creative outlet for me as well. You know, I like technical and I like creative, which is probably why I enjoy doing the film stuff so much, really, because so you have the film aspects where you're doing the camera and the hardware and the microphone, all that kind of stuff, but you're also creating some really cool stuff. So that was the marketing and the information systems. Information systems, for those of you who don't know what information systems is, it's basically it's a little bit hard to describe. It's basically the systems that businesses use to aggregate information. So that could be, it's very database orientated. So within the info system page, you learn things like SQL, which isn't search query language. I keep on thinking it is. It's, I think, standardized query language or something like that. I know it's bad that I don't know it, considering I did a major in it, but it's basically how you query databases to pull out and manipulate information. And as well as that, you learn things like Oracle server. You might learn some cryptography. You might learn data mining and all that, data warehouses, that kind of thing. And so that was a really good major, because that kind of acted as a springboard onto computer science, which is as I said before, kind of what I am really interested in. That was year 4. So this is my 5th year, and that's when I started really getting into the information systems and the marketing. So within the information systems realm, I was also I did a paper on web development, and that web development paper actually got me my first job as a web developer part-time while I was studying. But it also kind of acted as a springboard to get me into computer science, which is my kind of main major, which is basically where I see myself going in the future. And the reason for that is because HTML and CSS and JavaScript and stuff like that, it's very empirical, right? You do X and you get Y result. It's very unlike a lot of the other commerce degrees, especially marketing, where it's very opinionated, and if you can justify your answer, then you're technically correct. With computer science and with web development, you want to get to Y result, you have to do X method a specific way, otherwise it will not work. Sure, there will be tens of hundreds of other different ways to do it. Some may be more efficient than others, but you have to do it a certain way, and there is syntax and rules that you have to follow. And that was very different from marketing. It was quite refreshing, to be honest, to have a very kind of concrete learning system. Marketing can be very wishy-washy and bullshit. It's a lot of terminology that you really, at the time, you really don't think you'll need. And some of it is very fluffy. It's one of the things that really kind of frustrates me about a lot of tertiary education. It can be very fluffy and like learning for the sake of learning kind of thing. Sure, that may be for some people, but it sometimes is not relevant to you and your career in general. So this was my 5th year. So I did the semester 1 of my 5th year, and that was all commerce papers. And in semester 2, which is actually when I was due to finish my commerce degree, I picked up science. So I got accepted back into a conjoint degree. Now, the thing with conjoint degrees and double degrees is that you have to be over a certain GPA threshold. Now, for those of you who don't know, GPA is grade point average. So all of your papers that you take, you're getting graded from a A all the way down to a D or fail grade, basically. And each of those grades are associated with a point value. And you have to be above a certain threshold on that point value to be able to be eligible to do a double degree, because it's a reasonably demanding task. So I managed to get back into a double degree, so that was commerce and science, studying under computer science. So that was the end of my 5th year, and I started to pick up computer science, and I started to really enjoy it. Year 6. So year 6 is the year of computer science. That's where I basically did all of my computer science stuff. I've learned things like data structures and algorithms. I learned things like assembly language, really getting down into the nitty-gritty of the processors and CPU architecture. I learned things like some more web development stuff. I learned cryptography, more about security. I learned a little bit about Linux as well, so I was exposed to Linux for the first time, which was a kind of... Linux is an interesting experience, and I'll probably be doing some content around Linux in the future. I haven't actually installed it on my everyday PC yet, but I have used it. It's really good for things like Python and coding, and using Vim and stuff like that is actually quite useful. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So that was the year of computer science, and computer science really is a great major in my opinion. It's going to be in demand in the future. It's also, I will mention, I'm not sure if any one of my friends are actually going to be watching this, but coming from a slightly more mature perspective, so I'm not a mature student by any means, but I am still older than a lot of people when they are coming into uni. So I am 24 now, and I was involved with a lot of 19, 18, 20-year-olds. And so for the guys who kind of took me in as computer science, took me into their group, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And that's another thing that I'll probably do a video about that in the future as well. Coming back and studying with younger people. But one of the things I want to touch on is collaboration within the university environment, especially for things like computer science, where you're faced with a lot of difficult problems that are really quite hard to get your head around. And a lot of those projects you wouldn't be able to do without collaboration of some sort. Like, yes, that can be misconstrued as cheating because you may be doing some code sharing and stuff like that, but it really is necessary, and it builds a really good team environment, because that's how you'll be working when you go into a professional development. There is no punishment for sharing code. A lot of developers, if you're doing stuff like when I was doing my web development stuff, for example, you have a problem, you go into Google, you search out and see if somebody else has already written the code to make your life easier. You see if there is a library that you can use to utilize where someone else has already done the code. So, it's not that much of a big deal, but collaboration, especially in areas like computer science and engineering and stuff like that, it's really quite a good experience as well. So there is that aspect to computer science I like, but the main thing I like about computer science is how functional and logical it is. I'll be doing a video dedicated to each one, considering this video is now probably going on to about the half-hour mark. But that's basically my university career in a nutshell. I still have one more paper to go. I've got it's like a computer graphics 3D imaging modeling paper, which will be quite interesting, and I'm thinking of kind of doing a series about what I'm learning while I'm currently taking that paper, because that may be of some interest to graphics. Is something that a lot of people are into, especially if you're into computer games. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about how your games are actually transposed onto like a 3D plane. That may be something that may be interesting to you. But again, that's my university career in a nutshell. Started off doing arts and law, finished with commerce and science. So be on the lookout. A lot of the videos won't be this long. They'll kind of be more 5 to 10 minute videos dedicated to a particular subject. But I really hope you enjoyed the content so far. If you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, also let me know. If you've got any constructive criticism or anything like that, again, let me know. I really, really do appreciate it. As for now, though, thank you very much for watching, friends, and I will see you in the next one.